Falk. I'm a freelance corporate photographer in Vancouver, Canada. The Mini is a 1977 and it's a Canadian spec. It has some things that are only available on the Canadian one. So when they brought the cars in from the UK, they had to do a lot of things to meet the safety standards. So the bumpers are the most obvious thing. They're huge and completely different from what you'd expect. The doors are also a lot more heavy and they've got a bit more of a structure to them in case you get hit from the side. It's got the huge indicators as well that are Canadian only. The bumpers are pretty huge and unique, but I want to keep the car Canadian. To me, it ties in with who I am now. I was born in Canada, I'm Canadian, and part of that heritage of the car I want to keep alive, and I think that's something that brings a lot of enjoyment to myself and others. I've kind of been a collector of things my whole life. I've always been drawn to mechanical things and things that are well made, and so I've always been interested in watches. That was where I found more interest in vintage things, and I've always wanted a classic Mini, but I never realized that it was actually pretty doable. It was reliable enough that it could be a daily if I wanted it to be. So as I was looking for a Mini, I started to look online, and so this one popped up on Craigslist one day. Pretty much as soon as I saw the car, I knew it was in really good shape and I really wanted to get it. And I noticed he was wearing a vintage Rolex. And I commented on it. I could barely see what it was, and so I said something about it. And his eyes were like, how did you know what I was wearing? And as we were on the test drive, I kind of just thought of the idea, I wonder if he'd be interested in a trade. Instead of me buying this car, maybe I could trade him my grail watch from my collection for this car, because clearly he was into vintage Rolex. And so I told him what I had. It was a 1966 Submariner, and his eyes just lit up and he's like, my wife's gonna kill me. So I drove back home, grabbed the watch, came back, and then we signed the papers. I love that watch. I was hunting for it for years, but at the same time, it was a lot of money to be wearing on my wrist. I was afraid of getting mugged. So I wanted to find pieces that I had more connection with, either sentimentally or the history. I got the Mini, and I started to look at Smiths, and Smiths you'll know as the gauge maker for a lot of British cars. And so Smiths also has a connection to mountaineering, where in 1953, with the first ascent of Everest, Rolex and Smiths actually sponsored that climb. Sir Edmund Hillary probably wore Smiths, nobody really knows, but Rolex went crazy and capitalized on that marketing thing, and they made the Explorer the next year. And ever since then, they've made the Explorer this huge mountaineering, explorer's watch. But Smiths was actually the one to probably make it to the top. The two watches that I have, the Explorer and the Smiths watch, they have a lot of ties in terms of the design to that original watch that they wore to the top of Everest. When I first started climbing, I noticed I actually had a pretty severe fear of heights. And I would go up 10 feet and freak out and kind of freeze up and tense up. And I really wanted to face that fear, so I'd keep pushing myself a little higher, and the reward of being able to look down a couple hundred feet and say that you conquered it and feel safe. And when you're in those moments and your life is hanging on the line, everything else goes away. You're not thinking about anything else, and your whole world is that 6 feet bubble that you're in. When I'm doing mountaineering, you're putting one foot in front of the other for hours and hours, and it's not glorious, but it's a form of meditation, and it's a form of just getting to point B, and as safely as you can. Yeah, I think I never really understood what a joyride was until I got the Mini. I could be in the worst mood. I could be having, like cat could have pooed on the wall and, just in the worst mood. And I remember the first drive that I had in the classic Mini, I just had the biggest smile on my face and I was getting so many smiles from everyone else. And you get so many thumbs up and smiles from people. It's a car that I don't think any other car really does that.
Nice go. Nice.